King's Blind Love, Script 2. The Truth Will Out. Raja Veer Singh. King of Nurgar reclines on a golden couch beneath a flowering jasmine bower. His queen Rui Devi sits beside him, weaving a garland of blue forget-me-nots. Their spring court is in full swing, music echoes, courtiers dance, and servants move about offering chilled drinks and sweetmeats. Yet a dark cloud hangs over the king's face. "Maharani," he begins, his voice heavy with worry. Reports of bandit activity have increased along the northern borders. Beside him, Rani Rui lowers her eyes demurely. "Perhaps," she murmurs softly, "it is best if you consult General Zorawar. He knows the terrain and the enemy." The king shakes his head, his gaze distant. "I want you to go yourself. You shall lead a small force and deal with the situation." Rani Rui's eyes widen in surprise. "Me, but darling husband? I am no warrior." "You will win us many northern territories." As he speaks, he reaches out to caress her cheek, but the queen flinches away, her eyes hardening ever so slightly. The king does not notice. He has reached a point where he cannot fathom a single doubt against his beloved. This much is clear to his ministers, advisors, and generals. Raja Veer has fallen prey to his wife's wiles, and is ready to sacrifice his entire kingdom for her. Even his loyalty to his own subjects is now subservient to his blind love for Rani Rui. Ever since their marriage, it's been a steady decline into devotion, bordering on worship. No one dares speak against Rani Rui now. They watch as she leads the armies, makes vital decisions, and controls the king. She seems the perfect queen, yet there's a secret fire burning in her eyes. If only the king could see it. Meanwhile, in the neighboring kingdom of Kalepur, the queen's parents, Raja Vikram and Rani Padma, eagerly await news of their daughter's progress. Ever since they lost their son in the war with Nurgar, they vowed revenge. Their only hope, their daughter Rui, whom they trained in the arts of deception. Ever since she was wed to the naive King Veer, they knew their revenge was assured. Now they hear of the latest developments through their loyal agent Madhabi. "So, the king has taken the bait," says Rani Padma, with a cruel smile, sipping some wine. "When he declares war on Kalapur, Rani Rui will proclaim her kingdom betrayed and lead a rebellion. Soon, Raja Vikram added, stroking his beard, we will have our revenge, and Nurgar will be ours." Back in Nurgar, the queen prepares for her journey to the north. Every step of the way, the king showers her with gifts, jewels, and adulation. For her part, Rani Rui plays her role perfectly, accepting everything with demure grace. Yet her mind is elsewhere. And she's alone in her chambers. She sheds her queenly robes and reveals a strong athletic form underneath. She runs her fingers through a hidden compartment in her dressing table and pulls out a dagger. It's beautifully crafted, etched with scenes of war and battle. She holds it close, remembering how her father gifted it to her, training her to use it. Her parents wanted her to kill the king. But can she? Looking at the loving letters he'd penned. She remembers how she entered his life like a whirlwind, sweeping him off his feet. It had been easy. All she had to do was play the part of the helpless orphan. What was difficult was winning his trust and love. But she succeeded bit by bit. She helped the poor, visited the sick, treated his people with kindness. Soon, she became the most popular queen. Then came the process of neutralizing the opposition. First, she gained the favor of the royal advisors, showering them with praise and promises. Then came the court generals, their loyalty bought with gifts and favors. The king's own advisor, Bhairav, she ignored completely, keeping him out of important matters. Slowly but surely, she isolated the king, cutting him off from everyone except her. Now, as she stands poised to leave for the northern borders, the king watches her go, his heart filled with pride. Meanwhile, in the bustling city of Amrapali, General Zorawar receives a visit from a mysterious hooded figure. He has come from the south to warn the general of Rani Rui's treachery. Zorawar listens intently, his expression unreadable. When the messenger is done, he withdraws into deep thought. He trusts the messenger's sources, but can he trust his own eyes? The messenger leaves after receiving his payment. As soon as he is gone, Zorawar calls for his men. "I need you to spy on Rani Rui," he tells them. "Find out all you can about her activities. especially her nocturnal ones. Zorvar knows that his king is blinded by love, but he will not stand by and watch his kingdom fall apart. If the queen is truly treacherous, he will expose her. Back in the capital, the queen returns from her tour of the northern borders. The king greets her at the gate, showering her with questions. She smiles sweetly, hiding her weariness. "All is well, my love," she assures him. "The situation is under control. The people love me." Overjoyed, the king throws his arms around her. Little does he know that his beloved Rani Rui is the reason why the northern border states are rebelling. In the following weeks, the queen becomes busier than ever. She attends court hearings, meets visiting dignitaries, and presides over festivals. All the while, she keeps getting reports from her spies in Nurgar and Kalapa. War seems inevitable now, so she sends a letter to her parents detailing the situation. In return, she receives a letter of her own, reconfirming their plan. As soon as Raja Veer declares war on Kalapa, she will take over Nurgar, supported by her father's armies. The letter also mentions another development, one that makes Rani Rui pause. Her younger brother, Prince Chitfin, is now of age and has joined the war council in Kalapa. He's eager to prove himself, and he wants to lead the attack on Nurgar personally. He's too rash, her parents wrote. But we've tempered his arrogance with wisdom. Now listen carefully, little bird. Your brother will arrive soon, bearing a special message for you. Meanwhile, General Zorwar finally submits his report to the king. He presents damning evidence of the queen's treachery, gathered by his spies. But when the king hears these claims, he refuses to believe them. "Enough," he cries, tears in his eyes. "Why do you slander my beloved?" General Zorroyo is taken aback by the king's reaction. He has never seen this look on his face before. It's the look of a man in love, yes, but a love that has turned blind and deaf, and now for the biggest shock of all. One evening, as the king and queen are dining together, they hear a knock at the door. The king goes to open it and is stunned. Standing before him is none other than Prince Chitvan of Kalapur. He offers his hand to the king in greeting. "I bring the regards of my father, Raja Vikram," he says with a smile, "and a message from my sister, Rani Rui." The king turns pale. What message could his wife have sent to her family without his knowledge? Was she really playing him all along? Before he can question the prince, Rani Rui enters. She looks stunning in a blue silk sari, her hair adorned with pearls. She greets her brother warmly and turns to the king, her eyes shining. "Shh. My love," she whispers, "you have a visitor from Kalapa." Little does she know that her game is almost over. The king, his face ashen, stares back at her. He sees in her eyes the truth that he's been denying all along. He sees a cunning, ruthless look that has nothing to do with love. Will the king expose his wife's treachery? Or will he continue to live in blissful ignorance? Find out in Part 3. The King's Blind Love. Script 2. The Web of Betrayal. The nights in Nurgar were no longer peaceful. While the people slept, a silent war brewed within the palace walls. The secret messages continue every night. Queen Rui would send coded messages tied to the leg of a hawk trained by the Kalapur army. She kept a hidden book in her jewelry box, its cover decorated in gems, its pages written in invisible ink. That book held the true plans of Kalapur's invasion. "Send this tonight," she whispered to Matabi one evening. "Tell them to wait for my signal before attacking. The king will soon withdraw troops from the river fort." Matabi obeyed silently. The queen's confidence was growing, perhaps too much. She didn't know that someone was watching. Bhairav's plan advisor, Veer Singh, had already warned Chamli, the maid spy, to remain cautious. But now he wanted undeniable proof. He met secretly with General Samarjid, a battle-hardened warrior and loyal protector of Nurgar. General Bhairav said, "I believe the queen is a spy. We must act, but not rashly. The king won't believe us without evidence." Samarjit narrowed his eyes. "Then let's get evidence. Real, undeniable proof." They devised a plan. They would let Rui believe her sabotage was working, but secretly record her every move. A hidden door in the queen's chamber, unused for years, gave them the perfect view through a peephole in the stone wall. Kamali was instructed to leave the panel open slightly at night. What they saw shocked them. They watched her write codes. They saw her use heat to reveal the invisible ink. They saw her smile as the bird flew into the dark sky. Samarjit whispered, She's no queen. She's the enemy. The king's growing distance from reality, meanwhile. Raja Veer Singh had grown even more attached to Rui. He had begun avoiding court meetings, relying entirely on her advice. He now held court only once a week, and even then it was Rui who sat beside him like a shadow. Our spies in Kalapur report troop movement, Bhairav reported one day. Rumors, Rui interrupted. Kalapur's weak. They're desperate, not dangerous. The king nodded, echoing her words. Kalapur's desperate, not dangerous. Your Majesty, we must stay alert. General Samarjit tried again, but the king raised his hand. Enough. I trust my queen. If she says there is peace, there is peace. The court fell silent. That night, Bhairav stood on the palace rooftop, staring at the stars. We're losing him, he said softly to Samarjit. But we won't lose Nurgar. Kalapur prepares for war in Kalapur. The messages from Rui were being received eagerly by Senopati Kruta, the ruthless general of Kalapur. His armies trained day and night. Rui says the river fort is nearly empty, a messenger reported. Krura grinned. Perfect. Soon we strike. She's blinded their king. That fool won't know what hit him. The invasion was set for the new moon, the darkest night of the month. Bhairov's final proof, with enough evidence gathered drawings, intercepted messages, and testimonies from Chamuli and other maids. Bhairov now had a file thick with truth. But how to present it to the king? He needed someone the king trusted even more than him. He found that person in Rani Ma, the king's elderly stepmother, a wise and respected figure in the court. Though she had no power, her voice still carried weight. Bhairav went to her, bowed, and explained everything. When Rani Ma saw the documents and the hidden messages, she closed her eyes in pain. I always felt something dark in that girl's eyes. Now I know why. She agreed to talk to the king himself. The king is confronted. It was a stormy evening when Rani Ma walked into the king's chamber, holding the folder of evidence in her trembling hands. My son, she said gently, I must speak with you alone. Rui tried to stay, but the king waved her out politely. Rani Ma placed the documents in front of him. Read these. Please. The king frowned. What is this truth? She said. And betrayal. Veer Singh opened the folder. At first he was calm. Then his hands began to shake. Each letter, each drawing, each statement was like a dagger to the heart. He dropped the folder. This is a lie. She would never, she already has, Rani Ma whispered. He looked at her, eyes wet, but I love her, and that love is being used to destroy your kingdom. Veer sat in silence, staring at the floor. A storm raged outside, but the real thunder was inside his chest. The queen unmasked that night. Veer ordered Rui to be brought to the royal court alone, and without warning. She entered, confused. The room was full of guards and ministers. At the far end, Veer sat on his throne, not with love in his eyes, but fury. Rui, he said coldly. Who are you really? She smiled gently. I am your queen, my love. You are a spy. The room fell silent. Rui stood still. Then she slowly pulled off her veil and said calmly, Then you finally know. Gasps filled the court. Veer stood. Why, Rui? I gave you everything, my heart, my kingdom. That, she said, was your biggest mistake. She reached into her sleeve, a hidden blade. But before she could strike, General Samarjit leapt forward and pinned her to the ground. Take her to the dungeon, the king ordered. Rui said one last thing as she was dragged away. You may have caught me, Veer, but your kingdom will still burn. Will Nurgar fall to the invaders, or will Veer Singh rise to save his kingdom? Find out next time on our channel. And don't forget to hit the bell icon to get notified when we release new episodes. Our story begins in the great kingdom of Nurgar, where King Veer Singh ruled with justice and kindness. But the king's heart belonged to his wife, Rani Rui, whose beauty was known throughout the land. Yet recently, a darkness had fallen over her, a coldness that chilled the hearts of even the sun and the moon. She spent most of her time alone in her chambers, ignoring the king and the pleas of her worried ladies, and waiting. One night while visiting her, King Veer finds a love letter addressed to Rani Rui, signed only with the initial K, unable to bear the sight of such disrespect. The king storms off, seething with anger. The next morning, he summons the court, determined to find the sender of the letter. He calls for the royal spy master, advisor Bharavi, a calm and intelligent man with eyes as sharp as a hawk. The king hands him the letter, demanding an answer by nightfall or else. But Bharavi only shakes his head, knowing full well that neither he nor anyone else could read the letter. It was written in a secret code known only to the Royal Academy of Spies. As the hours tick by, the king paces in his court, his mind filled with doubts and fears. What if someone has poisoned his wife's heart against him? The thought is unbearable. Suddenly, the court erupts in gasps as a messenger rushes in, breathless, announcing the arrival of a delegation from the neighboring kingdom of Kalapur. The king immediately composes himself, putting on a mask of indifference. After all, he thinks, it's just a delegation. They can't possibly know about Rui or his secret. But little does he know that his fate hangs in the balance as he welcomes the Kalapur delegation into his court. At the head of the group stands a handsome warrior named Krura, his eyes sharp and calculating. Beside him are two men, Bhim and Chatra, each more cunning than the last. The king knows them all well. They are renowned rulers from Kalapur, but also notorious for their scheming ways. As the meeting commences, the king finds himself bombarded with questions about his kingdom, his defenses, his allies. Every question is carefully worded, every answer noted. Meanwhile, Rani Rui watches from afar, unseen, her eyes locked on the enigmatic Kuru, and the king, oblivious to the danger lurking in his court, offers his guests the warmest hospitality, treating them as friends rather than foes. Meanwhile, the spy master, advisor Bharavi, discreetly observes the visitors, his gaze keen and unwavering. He notices how Rani Rui seems strangely drawn to the warrior Kuru, but what he sees next shocks him to the core. One evening, while the guests are preparing to leave, Bharavi notices something unusual. He witnesses Krura sneaking out of his guest quarters, clutching a small package. Driven by his duty to the king, Bharavi follows Krura, keeping a safe distance. Krura leads him to the royal stables, slips the package to a stable hand, then disappears into the night. Bharavi, unable to see the contents of the package, reports his findings to the king. Together, they hatch a plan to expose whatever scheme is being hatched against them. The king decides to invite Krura for a private audience, while Bharavi arranges for the rest of the delegation to be kept under close watch. As Krura enters the king's court, he finds himself trapped. The king confronts him, his voice laced with both anger and sorrow. He demands answers, threatening to end the friendship between their kingdoms, unless Krura reveals his treachery. But Krura remains stoic, denying any wrongdoing, and even challenging the king to prove his accusations. Seeing Krura's unwavering stance, the king's anger boils over. He orders his guards to seize Krura and search him, but to his surprise, the guards find nothing on the man. Before they can drag him away, Krura warns the king that this moment will forever change the course of their relationship. With a final glare, he is dragged out of the court, leaving the king seething with frustration. The king turns to his spy master, advisor Bharavi, expecting answers, but Bharavi only shrugs helplessly. For the first time, the king sees doubt in his advisor's eyes, a stark contrast to the man's usual confidence. Bharavi explains that Krura's actions were so secretive that they left no trace. Any information they needed would have to come from Krura himself, and for that, they need to get inside his head. The king understands the gravity of the situation. If Krura truly meant them harm, he could already be halfway to Kalapur, far from the reach of justice. The king turns to the one person he believes can help him, his dear wife, Rani Rui. With determination in his eyes, he walks towards her chambers. Upon reaching Rani Rui's chamber, the king is surprised to find it empty. Her ladies-in-waiting tell him that she has left the palace, against palace protocol, to visit her parents. The king, consumed with worry, immediately sets out to bring her back. As he rides towards her parents' house, his mind races with possibilities. Could Krura have influenced Rui to spy for him? Or is there another reason behind her actions? Arriving at her parents' house, he is shocked to find it deserted. Has Krura managed to persuade her parents to leave as well? But as he looks around, he spots a hidden compartment in the wall, containing a small stash of gold coins and an urgent letter addressed to his wife. The king reads the letter. It's from Krura, and he learns a shocking truth. Krura had threatened Rani Rui, forcing her to steal the key to the hidden compartment where the letter is stored. The king realizes that Krura has been playing him all along. But why? Why put him through this charade? Is it just to test the king's trust? Or is there something bigger at play? The king returns to the palace, shaken by the revelation, vowing to confront Krura and end this game once and for all. But as night falls and Krura prepares to leave, the king has a decision to make. Does he expose Krura, risking a war with Kalapa? Or does he keep quiet and let Krura go, knowing that his wife has been compromised? The choice is agonizing, but the king's sense of duty and honor eventually wins out. He decides to call Krura to his court one last time. The following day, as Krura stands before the king confronts him with the evidence he gathered. Krura, however, doesn't deny his actions. Instead, he challenges the king, daring him to do his worst. Krura reminds the king of the lack of proof against him, emphasizing that without solid evidence, he could easily claim that the letter and the hidden compartment were planted to frame him. Krura further taunts the king, questioning his ability to protect his own wife. The king, enraged, is about to order Krura's arrest when the queen enters the court, her head held high. She confirms Krura's accusations, revealing that she had indeed left the kingdom under his orders. However, she also confesses to her own mistakes and announces her decision to return the stolen treasures to Kalapur, thereby ending the conflict between the two kingdoms. The king, ashamed and disappointed, orders Krura's release, hoping to restore peace. However, Krura refuses to back down. He accuses the king of disrespecting him by not providing concrete evidence and swears to hold him accountable for his humiliation. Leaving the stunned court, he departs for Kalapur, promising revenge. With Krura gone, the king is left to deal with the fallout of his actions. He realizes that while he may have avoided war, he has lost his wife's trust and his kingdom's peace. The damage done by Kuru is deep, and the king understands that he must work hard to repair it. Whether he can regain his wife's love and his kingdom's trust remains to be seen. The king grapples with the loss of his wife's love and the damage done to his kingdom's trust. Will he be able to win them back? And what role will Kura play in the unfolding drama? Find out in part 2.